Here we'll do an example involving metric masses. We are asked first to convert 125 milligrams to grams. Just as we've dealt with pounds and ounces in the US system, the metric system has its own types of measures. Let's consider a gram first, which we'll abbreviate with G. A gram is about the weight of a quarter. Now, similar to the relationship between meters and millimeters, 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams. You can think of a milligram as about the weight of a single grain of sand. So just as 1 meter is 1,000 millimeters, 1 gram is the same as 1,000 milligrams. We can use this information to change milligrams to grams. Let's start with 125 milligrams, multiply that by a fraction, and then since we need grams, we'll place that on top. Since we already have milligrams, we'll send that to the bottom. Since the 1,000 is next to milligrams, we'll indicate that will go to the bottom. And then the 1 that is next to grams must go to the top. Then we'll do the operation 125 times 1 divided by 1,000. However, we can skip the times 1 and skip straight to dividing by 1,000. We'll go to the calculator now and do the math. We enter 125 and divide by 1,000. This will give us 0.125. As for the units, the milligrams on top at the beginning will cancel out the milligrams on the bottom in the fraction, leaving us with grams as our final unit, which is what we want for this question. Therefore, our answer for the first question is 0.125 grams. Next, we're asked about 0.113 kilograms and how to change it to milligrams. As we've said before, 1 gram is the same as 1,000 milligrams. But also similarly to how kilometers and meters worked, 1 kilogram is the same as 1,000 grams. We said before that the weight of a quarter coin is about 1 gram. 1 kilogram is roughly the weight of someone's pillow. Most people would weigh somewhere between 50 kilograms and 100 kilograms. Now here we have quite a bit less than 1 kilogram, 0.113 kilograms. We'll start by writing that down, and we'll think about how we could get to milligrams. If you're not sure what to do in a metric system problem, try going to the base unit first. Once again, when I say base unit, I just mean grams. That's the type of mass unit that we use in the metric system without any extra letters. That's what base unit means. We'll indicate that we'll be going from kilograms to grams in our first step, then going from grams to milligrams in our second step. Therefore, we'll need 2 fractions. We begin with 0.113 kilograms, multiply it by our first fraction, where we'll get out of kilograms and get into grams. Then we multiply by a second fraction. In this fraction, we're going to take the grams from the first step, send them to the bottom. And then our goal is to get milligrams as our final answer, so we place that on the top. Now let's have a look at our first fraction. We'll look to the conversion factor that has kilograms and grams, since those are the units in this fraction. Notice our grams have a 1,000 next to them, and in our first fraction, grams are on the top. We'll place 1,000 in the top position. This means that kilograms must go to the bottom. We place a 1 next to kilograms now. Now for our second fraction, we have milligrams on top, grams on bottom. Let's box in those milligrams and indicate they will go to the top. And now, grams, which was previously on top, will go to the bottom in the next fraction in the chain. 1 goes next to grams, 1,000 milligrams. Now, our operation is 0.113, multiply 1,000, and multiply by another 1,000, of course keeping in mind we can skip the 1s. Let's go to the calculator and handle the math. We say 0.113, multiply 1,000, then multiply by another 1,000. When we press enter, we get 113,000. Now for the units. The kilograms will cancel out because we started with kilograms, then placed them on the bottom. Then the grams cancel out because the grams were the answer from our first fraction, but they'll cancel out with the grams in the bottom in the second fraction. This leaves us with milligrams as our unit. We'll indicate that our answer is 113,000 milligrams.